Happy Mayday. Happy militant Mayday. Happy Mayday, dear.
Thank you, comrade.
Are you working in the
I
kitchen?
am working.
We're going on
I want bread and roses.
bread and roses. Thank you, comrade. Any other, would you like to say something about the great workers' holiday?
There is no holiday. It's every day.
Every day is Workers' Day. Yes, it is May 1st, International Workers' Holiday. And it should be a day of a unified consciousness of all those who labor to feed us and to house us and to make our lives more meaningful and rewarding. Isn't that ideal? You know what it's really going to take is a change in human consciousness. And that's a much bigger thing than just subscribing to one political attitude or another. Nevertheless, we're stuck with not quite having that more enlightened shift of human consciousness. And those that have made that expansive, have experienced that expansive illumination, it can become difficult, impossible, or even deadly when opposed by those who haven't made that shift. And it's not as easy as well, when I was growing up, the idea of conservative and liberal. Well, yeah, back in those days, that was lightly conservative and lightly liberal. Unfortunately, that doesn't hold up during periods of well, like Nazi Germany and things like that. Nevertheless, keeping that in mind, let's see, what was I going to do? I want to make a point because Thelema and Aleister Crowley, now I say Thelema and Aleister Crowley, trying to point out that Aleister Crowley and Thelema aren't 100% synonymous. Aleister Crowley was a man. He was a wild and crazy man. He was a brilliant man. But he was a man with warts, a man of his time, his social status, his class, okay? And his class, I mean, he was born in 1875, okay? And we're here, well over 100 years later, trying to project upon him our attitudes, social attitudes, economic attitudes, even philosophical attitudes. Okay. So when the argument becomes, well, Crowley would have said, no Social Security and things like and then acquaint that to Thelema. Thelema says, or even the Book of the Law. Here's what I tried to explain in one of my letters in Ask Babylon. My father, Abba Babalan, told me never to discuss religion or politics in a bar. As I grow older, his words take on a greater dimensions of wisdom. It's a real pity, though. There are few things I like more than discussing religion and politics, especially when I'm drinking. Now, I wrote this years ago, okay? Uh, for over half my life, I've been involved in the magical and administrative adventures of Ordo Templi Orientis. The OTO is a magical society founded around 1900 that embraces the law of Thelema, a philosophical, some say religious, concept based on a received text, Liber al vel leges, also known as the Book of the Law. The Book of the Law is unique among holy books because it forbids anyone to interpret it for another. This, in my opinion, is a good thing because many passages, if taken or mistaken literally, can be very unsettling. I burned my first copy the moment I was through reading it. Obviously, I came to terms with my irrational fears, for I'm currently the OTO's U.S. Deputy Grand Master and Archbishop of its ecclesiastical arm, Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica. As such, I get letters. Some of the letters, like the ones to follow, and I'm not going to read them all. Please don't be afraid. If projected on a political canvas, would suggest some very disturbing things. Couple that with the reputation of the book's scribe, Crowley, his wild and crazy reputation, would suggest some disturbing things. Couple that with the reputation, okay, we have a recipe for a real freak out, okay? As you'll soon see, I come out of the political closet and confess and attempt to justify my political attitudes. I hope the reader will find himself or herself on the other end of the political spectrum. I hope you'll not think of me too unkindly. Okay. There's a two-part letter, and I answered twice. Well, I'll just kick. I've been studying dear Babylon, I've been studying all the books on Western esoteric tradition for a couple years, and I've developed a particular appreciation for Aleister Crowley's works and ideas, with one exception: his socio-political views. Now I'm going to digress right here and say Crowley said a lot of things over a long period of time. Many contradict themselves. Okay. Crowley is a man. Okay. Crowley's socio-political views were those of a man during that time, sort of a English quasi-aristocratic view. I'm a liberal humanist, and I oppose social Darwinism, or the view, let the strong survive and thrive and stamp down the weak and helpless, with all my heart. So do I, okay? Look, Crowley marched in socialist protest marches, okay? Thelema, well, I'll try to explain this in a minute here. Crowley advocates this view. He does not advocate that view, except in certain discussions on his speculations on what certain passages may or may not mean. Not only that, but he could be as off the shooting from the hip, knee jerk, outrageous statements just to be outrageous and to shock people. That's Crowley. That's the flawed messenger. Okay. And it says, including Liber Alva Legis, which is put forth as Holy Writ, which is not to be changed. Okay. That's where I'm going to, let's see. And I said, look, I consider myself a liberal humanist. Actually, I'm a radical liberal humanist. I guess the polite term in today's American politics is progressive. So is Constance, so are most of our closest friends in and out of the OTO. I can't speak for them, but my motives are entirely selfish. I simply have come to the conclusion that it is in my best interest to live in a stable environment, undisturbed and unencumbered by violent social unrest. Okay. That really didn't satisfy this guy very much. And I went on and on and on. It says the OTO website states, quote, if you decide to pursue full membership as a first degree, you will be stating that you accept the book of the law as written without wishing to change it, unquote. Accept. Does that say accept my interpretation of it? Your interpretation of it? Crowley's interpretation of it? No. Accept it as an arbitrary sacred text. Not an instruction manual, not a political manifesto. It'd be like saying, I accept Shakespeare's sonnets. I'm going to squeeze every ounce of truth out of Shakespeare's sonnets. My own interpretation, how they affect me, and I'm not going to let anyone else tell me what that means. Look hard enough at anything and you'll eventually see everything. Accept the book of the law without wishing to make changes in it. Because if you wish to make changes in it, you are inserting your own interpretation and therefore robbing others of their own opportunity to have a growing, evolving interpretation of what that may mean to them at any given moment. So, I'm sure you will recognize the following quotations from the Book of the Law. The kings of the earth shall be kings forever. The slaves shall serve. Stamp down the wretched and the weak. This is the law of the strong. This is our law and the joy of the world. Mercy be let off. Damn them who pity. Kill and torture. Spare not. Be upon them. We are not for the poor and the sad. The lords of the earth are our kinsfolk. Ye are against the people, O my chosen. Pity not the fallen. I never knew them. I am not for them. I console not. I hate the console and the consoler. Okay. Right. The opening to Henry V. I accept it. I don't wish to change it. Okay. If many OTO members are progressive or liberal humanists, how did they bring themselves to accept such quotes as the above? A human society run along such lines would be hell on earth. Boy, I agree with that for sure. Since Reagan was elected, our own country has moved in that direction. It has become just that for many people. Every man for himself, and let the devil take the hindmost. I thought we progressives were opposed to having human society operate according to the law of the jungle. Does he think the book of the law is that how superficially he is reading a sacred text? And how can the above quotes be squared with the OTO's repeated proclamations in their literature on their website of the brotherhood as something the organization advocates? It's our mission statement. I mean no offense, I'm sincerely puzzled. I found Crowley's ideals on practically every other subject to be so outstanding that I was starting to dream of becoming an OTO member. Okay, well, fine. If he is so in sync with all those other things, with Crowley's work that inspire him and he's on board with, why isn't he giving him the benefit of the doubt on this particular matter? I ask rhetorically. Okay, here's my answer. The answer for me, at least, is very simple. I consider and meditate upon such passages as metaphors concerning the nature of my own being, my own struggles, my own flaws and aspirations. If I take it beyond that, it ceases to be a holy book and becomes no better than the Bible or the Quran. For me, the projection of scriptural passage upon the world of politics is the major cause for most of the world's ills. My God, I'm a vegetarian too. Do you think that the book of the law is telling me to eat human flesh or sacrifice cattle and children? Of course, there'll always be, quote, people, unquote, who are stupid enough to do such things. And I'm happy to say I'm against those people. Accepting the book of the law without wishing to make changes in it does not suggest you are accepting Crowley's or anyone's interpretation of what that means. It does suggest that you are willing to search for truth everywhere, even in a book you may never understand and which might scare the shit out of you. I can't tell you or anyone else how to interpret the book of the law. And I certainly will not burden anyone with my moment-to-moment interpretations. But with all due respect, I believe you're missing a very big point here. I certainly wouldn't look to Liber Al or the Bible or the Torah or the Quran, or the Tao Te Ching, or the Book of Mormon, or any sacred scripture as a political manifesto. Yikes. From a magical or even Zen perspective, an idea is only true insomuch as it contains within itself its own opposite. Not everyone resonates to the idea of finding the light even in the darkness. The Book of the Law certainly does a good job of initially turning off those who do not grasp this age-old and fundamental concept. And perhaps it needs to. I just thank the gods that when election day rolls around, your vote and mine probably won't cancel each other out. Okay, that's that. And that's from Ask Babylon. And that's my Mayday message for today. This is a workers' holiday. I mentioned yesterday that, or the day before, that in the United States, in sort of a anti-labor movement, snub has turned this festive international holiday and calls it Law Day. Well, anyway, that's that. Constance mentioned that this morning concerning the word work and the term worker. And it is for magicians, for Thelemites, for people on a spiritual quest to become increasingly self-aware. The great work is our work. We everything else is a part-time job. The great work is our true career. And the great work is uniting that which is above with that which is below. You can call the first step in that the knowledge and conversation of your own holy guardian angel, or you can just look at it as laboring to become increasingly aware that you are the perfect reflection of, for a better term, God, the singularity, the great what it is. And we're not just the reflection of it, okay? Maybe the we that we mistakenly think is we is a reflection of it. We actually are. Anyway, it takes work to do that. Happy Mayday, everyone. Happy Beltane, everyone. And we'll see you tomorrow. Constance and I and our friend Taryn are going on a little picnic this afternoon, and it's a very Mayday-ish thing to do. I'm blowing up red balloons. No, I'm not. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow, comrades. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.